Yes, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, hintay lang po tayo ng mga participants, at least, I think, mga 2 to 3 minutes. Then we will start the SIP registration uh, general series. Uh, mm, Many participants. By the way po, I'm John Rick, one of the technical support of LCP Trading. And kung may mga questions po tayo, meron po tayong um, question and answer portion dito or tab or yung group chat. Pwede tayong mag-send ng mga questions natin and we will try to answer the questions. Yeah, I think we can start now. We have um, many participants and let's start. And good afternoon po everyone. I'm John Rick, one of the technical support of LICP Trading. And for today's short webinar, we will go back to basics and learn how to manually register our various Grandstream products. I Nandito po si Sir Patrick as a panelist and he will try to answer your questions if you have any questions about our topic. Then I will be going over what SIP credentials are and how can we input those credentials to Grandstream devices. I'm gonna give you many examples throughout our product line, and without further ado, let's go ahead to SIP credentials portion. Yan. When it comes to SIP credentials, it offers broke it sorry sorry for that. When it comes to SIP credentials, it often broken. Hello, sorry for that. Um, Pag sinabing SIP credentials, minsan nahahati siya sa apat na bagay, yung SIP server, SIP username, SIP authentication ID, and yung SIP password. The SIP server, it's either an IP address or a domain. User it is usually the extension number or the local number or sometimes an actual username. It is used to determine who you are in the system, whether it is hosted, cloud, on-premise, PBX. Next is the host ID. It is usually used for security purposes, and the auth ID is one of the optional things. Majority of the time, you're only gonna use the username or the SIP password. And for the SIP password, it is literally just a password. Kung ano mang naisip nating password, like randomly generated password na yung alphanumeric. And as an example, you can see in the right side, this is an email attachment generated by our UCM sa ating PBX. So makikita natin dito sa general settings, um, andyan yung server address, andyan din yung public IP address, yung SIP user ID, authentication ID, and then the authentication password. So if gusto naman natin gamitin yung GS Wave, meron din tayong login URL dyan. And then meron ding yung login URL para sa public. So pag clinic natin yan, magla-login lang tayo sa GS Wave. Yung GS Wave, as long as meron tayong mga sa browser, preferably natin yung what do you call this? Chrome or Firefox. And then yung login name is yung extension number, and then yung login password naman is yung user password na ginawa sa ating UCM. So if we have GS Wave app na we can download it to our, or you can download it to App Store or the Google Play Store. We can just scan this QR code and then we can register to the PBX. Ganun lang siya kadali kung para sa GS Wave app. Yung app sa ating mga smartphone siya ini-install. Yeah. Now, in order to configure the phones and be able to input those credentials, we first need to get the IP addresses of the device so we can access the web GUI. For all of the Grandstream products, it is magkakaiba sila pero konti lang naman yung mga pinagkaiba nila, and you can get this by interfacing with the phone. So for example, yan yung sa GXP 2170 and GRP 2616, all you can it is very simple. You just press the up button on the navigation key, and ang slightly difference lang nila is yung sa GRP series natin, i-press up natin then nang matagal, or i-hold natin yung up, and then um, it will give you the IP address. And then for the IP video phones, it is very easy to see. The moment that the phone boots up, you can see the IP addresses. Yeah. Yeah. For example, dito sa GXV3270 natin, there's on the screen, on the touch screen, you can see the IP address of the device, and you can input it to the browser, and then you can access the web GUI. And for our GXV3380 and GXV3240, so newer model siya, and the difference is you have to navigate and tap on the settings button and then click on the about, then go to network status. Then from there, you can obtain the IP address. And when it comes naman sa ating mga HT series or yung mga gateway series natin ni Grandstream, this can be a little bit trickier, pero di siya ganun kahirap. Kung meron tayong analog phones, may mga natatago pa tayong analog phones, you can just plug it on the FXS ports, and then dial star, star, star or yung asterisk. 3 times mo siyang ipe-press and then it will activate the automated attendant menu. So from there, you can keep pressing the star or the asterisk button then until the automated attendant gets you to the menu that will read you the IP address of the device. So pag makikita natin dito sa HT802 and that this is HT818, that's the FXS port that you can plug the analog phone. Then from that you can dial the asterisk, that triple asterisk, and then it will obtain and you can obtain the IP address. Yeah. And now for the if you have a larger GXW series, these are the rack mountable ones. Mas madali makuha yung IP address niya kasi nga meron na siyang LCD screen and then you can navigate and obtain and check the IP address. And then once you get the IP address, you can now access the web GUI. Now that we know the IP address and and be able to access the web GUI, all we need now is the password. So you'll find it in the sticker at the back of the device with the MAC address and the serial number. So here's an example for our UCM 6000 series or 662 or 6300 series. You can see the password, yeah, at the bottom of the device together with the MAC and serial number. And then here's for the GXP and GRP series. You can also see the password. And all the password are located in these uh, devices. Yeah, it's at the back of the device for the GXP, GRP, and then at the bottom of the device for UCM 6300 series and HT801 series. Yeah, now that we can access the web interface, we can now take the SIP credentials we got from the UCM and input them to our Grandstream devices. Now, as you can see, this is the SIP credentials. I will run a few screenshots for you of our Grandstream devices and the SIP settings and where they go or where they will input in the web GUI. So here's the SIP credentials as you can see, and this is the example of the web GUI of the GXP series. So from account 1, general settings, we will input the account name and then the SIP server. It's 192.168.99.108 in our example. The SIP user ID, the authenticate ID is 1000 and then the authenticate password is the password that we have created in the UCM. So here's the breakdown para ma-check ulit natin. Yan. And here's an example on HT Web UI. So from the FXS ports, FXS ports tab, the primary SIP server, you can input the IP address, which is the 99.108. And then in the SIP user ID is the 1000, authenticate ID is 1000, authenticate password is the password that you or we have created. And then the example for GXW or the analog phone gateways. Yeah, from the profiles tab, profile 1, general settings, you will input the SIP server there, and from there, you can just save and apply the configuration. And then here's the what do you call this? For the FXS gateway or the analog phones gateway. The other one is for the, yeah, it's also for the analog gateway. You will input the SIP server here, profile 1 general settings, and then from the FXS1, if you're gonna use it for extension 1000, you will input 1000 in the SIP user ID, and then 1000 in authenticate ID, and then the password. Then select the profile one, which is the one that we have created here. It's profile 1 with a SIP server of 192.168.99 and .108. Yeah. This is the FXS gateway configuration. So very basic lang tayo. Simula tayo sa una sa SIP configuration. So nasa adding lang tayo ng mga credentials. Then once that we save and apply the configuration and we check the status, it will go to registered. Then here's an example of a UCM if you're gonna register its SIP track to a provider. So on the host name, if kung sa host name dito yung IP address, ayan, 192.168.99.108. And then kung registered SIP trunk siya, yung username and ID is 1000, and then yung password. So ito example lang siya. So kung yung credentials natin na pinakita ko kanina sa unang-una, ayan, yung credentials na to is for SIP provider, kasi sa ibang bansa SIP provider talaga sila, hindi siya yung kapag SIP trunk is at ganito lang yung binibigay. Server address, public server address, SIP user ID, authenticate ID. Then magkakaroon na sila ng SIP trunk or VoIP trunk. Ganito yung interface niya, and then ganito kung paano siya mag-register. Kahilan tayo ng username, and then auth ID, and then yung password. Then don't forget the host name, which is the IP address or sometimes the domain name or domain. Next is the GXV33 series. As you can see, it's almost the same with yung GUI niya. Pareho na siya ng halos ng sa UCM kasi nga yung mas updated yung firmware version and updated yung mga devices. So lagay lang natin SIP server, username, user ID, and then authentication ID, and then authentication password. Then, and finally, the GVC series or the video conferencing of Grandstream. Dahil yung GVC 3200 natin is capable of SIP, we can register it to a SIP server. So you can just input the SIP server like this, 192.168.99.108, and then SIP user ID, SIP authentication ID, and then SIP authentication password. Then you can go to settings, and then SIP, then general, check nyo yung account active, and then ito yung SIP credentials natin na i-input or i-configure. Yan. So ito lang yung mga examples natin, and I think lahat naman na cover, lahat ng pwedeng mag-register as a SIP dito sa ating presentation. All right. that's it for this webinar, and thank you for listening. If you have any question or for some reason you cannot register a Grandstream device to a SIP server, you can ask it now or email us at support@alloy.com.ph or sales@alloy.com.ph. Once again, I'm John Rick, and thank you for your time. If you have questions, we can answer this. We can answer those habang may time pa tayo sa ating webinar. Yeah. May mga questions po ba? And naintindihan naman po ba natin yung webinar? It's a short webinar. As you can see, pinakita ko lang po yung uh, mga configuration or yung mga SIP kung saan natin ilalagay yung SIP credentials once we are going to register a SIP devices or a Grandstream devices. Si Sir Gian ulit from top. Sir, may pwede naman naka-record naman po ang ating webinar. You can just watch it on YouTube. We will upload it. And right now po naka-ano naman po siya. Naka-live, then maybe you can replay na lang po. So, Sir Gian. Yeah. So, kung wala na po tayong questions or kung may mga questions pa tayo naisip natin after this webinar, you can just email us at support@alloy.com.ph. Ayun, may questions tayo from Sir Mark. Hi sir, regarding po sa gateways, pwede ba i-register sa different IPPBX? Yes po, pwede po siya i-register sa different IPPBX, any brand, as long as yung IPPBX po is SIP supported or meron siyang supported niya yung SIP protocol. So kung hindi po SIP yung ating IPPBX, hindi po gagana yung ating mga gateways. And so, yun po yung what do you call this? Parang requirements para gumana yung mga gateways ni Grandstream once na mag-register tayo sa ibang IPPBX. Right po. So ayun po, kung wala na po tayong mga questions, I think we can end now the webinar. Thank you for listening. And yung sa mga nahuli po, pwede po natin siyang i-replay sa ating YouTube. Sa ating YouTube channel, ang channel po natin is yung Aloy Philippines. Doon po, pa-like and share na rin po. And then, thank you po for listening.